The soft clink of my wife's wine glass sets against the wooden dining table, her laughter mingling with the low hum of the jazz playlist I put on earlier. It's supposed to be a relaxing Friday night, just the two of us, a ritual to wind down after a hectic week. I watch her across the table, her eyes sparkling under the dim overhead light. Her smile as captivating as when I first met her. The air is scented with the roasted chicken I cooked, a recipe passed down from my father, flavored with herbs and a hint of nostalgia. "Do you remember our first dinner date?" I ask, swirling the deep red liquid in my glass, watching it catch the light. She smiles, a bit wistfully. "Of course. How could I forget? You tried so hard to impress me with your spaghetti, only to burn it." She laughs, a sound that once warmed me but now feels too practiced, too smooth. "Guess I've improved since then," I quip, attempting to keep the mood light, though a nagging sensation tugs at the back of my mind, a whisper of something amiss. "You've become quite the chef," she replies, her gaze drifting slightly past my shoulder, then back to me. There's a fleeting, unreadable expression on her face before she masks it with another perfect smile. We continue eating, the conversation flowing around trivial matters. Work, the news, the new couple that moved in next door. Yet, beneath the surface of these mundane exchanges, there's a tension I can't quite shake off. It's like a thread pulled too tight, ready to snap. Clearing the dishes, I notice her phone buzz under a pile of today's mail. "Your phone's buzzing," I mention, handing it to her. The color drains from her face as she sees the screen. She snatches it quickly, a bit too quickly. "It's just an email from work," she stammers, placing it back down a little too carefully. I nod, but her reaction sticks with me, burrowing deep into my gut where unease starts to fester. "It's nothing," I tell myself. "Maybe work is just stressful." As she excuses herself to the bathroom, curiosity overpowers me. I glance at the phone again. It's irresponsible, a breach of trust, but the seed of doubt has been planted, and I can't help but water it with my actions. I pick it up, her phone unlocking easily, no password. My heart races as I open the message app, and then I see it. Not work, not a benign email, but messages filled with heart emojis, plans for a weekend getaway, pictures that burn my eyes and churn my stomach. The sound of the bathroom door creaking open snaps me back to reality. I place the phone down exactly as it was, my mind racing. Everything is ordinary on the surface, our perfect little life. But beneath, the foundation is cracked, threatening to crumble. She returns, sliding back into her chair, unaware that our world just shifted. I smile, masking the turmoil inside as I pass her the wine bottle. "More wine, love?" The night continues, but now everything has changed. The moment she leaves for her morning jog, the air in the house feels different. Charged, heavy, like the calm before a storm. I sit at the kitchen table, the phone in front of me. Those messages burned into my memory. I can't shake the images, the words, the betrayal. It's a visceral punch to the gut, each heartbeat a thunderous echo in my chest. Today isn't about routine. It's about revelation. I need more than just messages. I need undeniable proof, not just for me, but for the inevitable legal battles that might ensue. Divorce? Maybe. But first, the deceit needs dragging into the light. My laptop is open within seconds, a blank document ready to record every detail. But it's not enough to write it down. I have to see it, prove it. I need to know everything, the logistics of their meetings, the depth of the lies, the financial ramifications. The truth lurks in the digital shadows of emails and credit card statements. I'm no hacker, but I know enough to start somewhere. Her cloud storage, commonly synced for convenience and often forgotten about for security. I type in the address for the cloud service, my fingers hesitant at first. This is it, crossing the threshold. Her password is predictable, our anniversary date, ironic, now a tool against her. The files load, a digital Pandora's box. Emails, photos, more than I expected. And there, a folder labeled receipts that catches my breath. It's not grocery receipts, but hotel bookings, jewelry purchases, spa visits. Thousands of dollars spent, the depth of the betrayal measured in meticulous transactions. Each document I open twists the knife deeper. A reservation for a villa in Tuscany. The trip she told me was a girl's getaway. An email exchange about a bracelet I'd never seen but was clearly not meant for me. Their words are casual, intimate, a shared secret life at my emotional and financial expense. My next step takes me deeper into the betrayal. I set up hidden cameras in our home. If she brings him here, I need to know, need to see it. The installation is quick, disguised in smoke detectors and picture frames. It's not just about catching a moment, it's about understanding the extent, the audacity. The rest of the morning passes in a blur of surveillance and documentation. By the time she returns, flushed from her run, I am a statue of normalcy, sipping coffee, the screen of deceit minimized, a facade of ignorance maintained. "How was your run?" My voice doesn't shake. It's cool, detached. "Good," cleared my head. She pours herself a glass of water, her back to me. There's a tension in her shoulders, a rigidity I hadn't noticed before. The phone buzzes again, her body stiffening. She checks it, typing back a swift, secretive reply. "I might go out tonight with the girls," she says, a casual afterthought as she heads upstairs to shower. I nod, saying nothing, my silence a mask to my screaming mind. As she disappears, the real work begins. I need outside help, someone who can trace the financials beyond my basic access. A private investigator comes highly recommended in situations like mine, discreet, thorough, experienced in marital duplicity. The call is brief, the agreement straightforward. He'll start today, tail her, track her spending, tap into her world. Evening finds me alone, her side of the bed cold, the house hollow with the echo of her absence. My phone lights up with updates from the PI, a text here, a photo there. She's not with the girls, she's with him. They're at a downtown hotel bar, laughing over cocktails, his hand on her back. The proof is visual, undeniable. Hours tick by, each one a hammer to my sanity. When she finally comes home, her eyes avoid mine, guilt a shadow in her gaze. "Long night?" I ask, my voice a mix of feigned curiosity and veiled accusation. "Yeah, just needed to unwind a bit." Her reply is too quick, her smile too tight. We talk of mundane things, but each word she speaks might as well be another lie. It's almost too much, keeping up this pretense of ignorance, but necessary. I need more than just pictures and probable cause. The following days are a tactical dance of shadows and deceit. I receive regular updates from the PI, compile evidence, prepare for the moment of confrontation. But it's not enough to confront her, not yet. I need to dismantle her affair, expose the depth of her betrayal to everyone who matters, especially him. Finally, an opportunity presents itself. He's vulnerable, financially. The PI uncovers irregularities in his business, ties that could link him to illegal activities. It's a risk, digging into this aspect, but it's also leverage. My plan is simple: confront him, use what I know to break him, to break them. I arrange a meeting under the guise of discussing a new business opportunity, something he can't resist. We meet at a quiet cafe, a public place, his confidence evident as he greets me with a handshake, unaware of my intent. "I know about you and my wife," I start, the words heavy, lethal. His face pales, his eyes darting. "I don't know what you're—" "Don't," I cut him off, sliding a folder across the table. Inside, photos, emails, financial statements. I know everything. And I know about your side deals, too. He scans the contents, sweat beading on his forehead. "What do you want?" "End it. With her. Or this goes to everyone." He hesitates, a man weighing his sins against his survival. "Okay," he says finally, defeat lacing his voice. I leave the cafe with a mix of triumph and disgust. Part of me hates this deceit, this game, but it's necessary. She must see the ruin, feel the loss, understand the cost of betrayal. Tonight I'll confront her, End this charade. I'm no longer just the betrayed husband. I'm the architect of retribution. The stage is set, the players ready, and the final act is about to begin. I stand in the shadows of our living room, the low hum of the city outside barely penetrating the thick curtains. My heart is a steady drum, loud in the quiet of our house. I've laid the groundwork, turned the screws where necessary, and now it's time for the confrontation, the revelation. My palms are sweaty, my throat dry, but my resolve is ironclad. I'm ready to face her, to tear down the facade of our marriage and expose the rot underneath. The key turns in the door, and she steps inside, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor, a sound that once signaled the return of my heart's joy. Now, it's the tolling of a bell. She's humming softly, a tune carefree and light, her hair slightly disheveled from the wind, her cheeks flushed. But as she sees me, her smile fades, her steps falter. "Why are you sitting in the dark?" Her voice is tentative, a thread of nervous energy woven through her words. "We need to talk." I stand, my movements deliberate, the weight of every second heavy in the air. She pauses, a delicate frown creasing her brow. "What's going on?" she asks as she sets down her purse, her eyes searching mine, perhaps catching the edge of something new, something dangerous. I flick on the lamp, the soft light harsh against the brewing storm. "Sit down," I say, my voice steady, pointing to the chair opposite mine. Reluctantly, she does, wrapping her arms around herself defensively. "You're scaring me," she whispers. "Good," I reply, because fear means she understands the gravity of this moment. I pull out the envelope from my jacket, the one filled with photos, emails, the tangible proof of her betrayal. Her gaze follows every movement, dread blooming in her eyes. "This is you, right?" I toss the photos on the coffee table between us. They scatter like leaves, images of her and him, intimate, carefree, damning. She doesn't pick them up, just stares at them from a distance, her face pale. "Where did you get these? Does it matter?" I lean forward, my hands clenched. What matters is what they show. What matters is that while I've been living our marriage, you've been living a lie. Her eyes fill with tears. Her lips part as if to speak, but nothing comes out. She looks down, defeated, her hands trembling slightly as they rest in her lap. "I loved you," I continue, the words like glass in my mouth, hard and brittle. "And maybe a part of me still does. But I loved a ghost, a facade." "I can explain," she finally murmurs, her voice a broken whisper. "Explain?" I scoff, anger flaring. "What's there to explain? That you fell out of love? That he was just a fling? Or maybe you'll tell me it's my fault that I drove you to it?" "No, it's not like that," she pleads, her voice gaining strength. "It's complicated." "Complicated," I echo mockingly. "Is that what you call it?" She wipes her eyes, steadies herself. "I made a mistake," she admits, "a series of them. But it's not just about him. It's about us, about what we've become." "What we've become," I repeat, the words hollow. "And whose fault is that?" Her composure cracks, a sob escaping her lips. "I don't know anymore. I'm sorry. So sorry." Sorry doesn't change what you did. Sorry doesn't erase the lies, the deceit. I stand, pacing now, the room too small to contain my fury. "Did you ever think about me? About what this would do to me?" She tries to reach out, her hand trembling. "I never wanted to hurt you." "But you did." I stop, facing her, my voice lowering to a deadly calm. "You shattered everything with your selfishness." The air is thick between us, charged with the weight of broken vows and unspoken pain. She looks at me, really looks, and for a moment, I see a flicker of the woman I married, vulnerable and afraid. "What are you going to do?" she asks, her voice a mere wisp. I pause, the next words pivotal, the power in my hands. "I want a separation, for now. I need space to think, to decide if there's anything left of us to save." She nods, her defeat tangible. I'll stay at my sister's then, give you the space you need. As she rises, the distance between us feels like miles, not mere feet. She moves to gather her things, her movement slow, resigned. I'll come by tomorrow to pick up some things, she says quietly, not meeting my eye. Fine. My reply is curt, my heart encased in ice. The door closes softly behind her, and I'm left in the echoing silence of the house we made a home. Alone, I sit back down, the remnants of our life strewn around me. The victory is hollow, the taste of it like ash. I've faced the greatest threat, her betrayal, but at what cost? The battle may be won, but the war rages on within, the lines blurred, the future uncertain. My heart aches, a dull, persistent throb. The conflict reaches its peak, and though part of me wants to collapse under the weight of it all, another part urges me to fight through the pain. Tomorrow, I'll begin sorting through the wreckage, deciding what can be salvaged, if anything. But tonight, I mourn what was lost, the innocence and love that once defined us, now just ghosts in the shell of our past. Days merge into a blur of sleepless nights and restless days. The house feels cavernous, an empty shell filled with echoes of the past. The silence weighs heavy, each creak and whisper a reminder of what was lost. I move through the rooms mechanically, a ghost haunting his own life, the air thick with the scent of betrayal. My resolve hardens with each passing moment. The separation, once a desperate grasp at space, now feels like the only viable path forward. But the path I'm treading isn't just about emotional survival. It's about justice, about ensuring she can't just walk away from the wreckage she caused without consequence. The day of the confrontation looms large. It's not just any confrontation. It's the one that will happen at her office party, a gathering of all her colleagues and, crucially, the client she values so highly. My plan is simple and brutal. Expose her and him in front of those whose opinions she cares about the most. It's there, amid the clink of glasses and the murmur of industry gossip, that I'll strip away the veneer of her deception. I spend the days leading up to the event gathering every shred of evidence I can. The private investigator I hired continues to feed me information, and I compile it meticulously, a dossier of deceit. Photos, emails, financial statements, each piece slots into place, painting a picture of betrayal that's both comprehensive and damning. The night before the party, I don't sleep. Adrenaline courses through me, a potent mix of fear and anticipation. I rehearse what I'll say, how I'll reveal everything. The words feel like shards of glass in my mouth, bitter and sharp. The party is at a chic downtown venue, its glass facade glittering against the night sky. I arrive early, my stomach a knot of nerves. Inside, the atmosphere is buoyant, a bubble of laughter and light. I blend in, just another suit among many, but my purpose is sharper, more dangerous than mere networking. She's there, radiant and confident, her laughter ringing clear. He's by her side, their intimacy not just implied, but boldly displayed. Seeing them together, so carefree, ignites a fire in me, a burning desire to tear down their facade. I bide my time, waiting for the right moment. It comes when she takes the stage to address her colleagues and clients. The room quiets, all eyes on her. My heart pounds a furious beat as I stand, the dossier in hand. "Excuse me," I interrupt, my voice cutting through the murmur of the crowd. The room turns towards me, a sea of curious faces. She stares at me, her eyes widening in shock and fear. "I believe everyone here should know exactly who they're dealing with," I announce, my voice steady despite the tempest inside me. I step forward, holding up the photos and emails. This is the real person behind the charming facade. This is a woman who cheats, who lies, who betrays her husband. Gasps ripple through the room as I toss the photos onto the stage. They scatter, a stark tableau of her infidelity. She stands frozen, her face pale, her eyes darting wildly. "This is who you are celebrating tonight," I continue, the silence around me now heavy, accusatory. "And this," I say, turning slightly to include him in my accusation, "is her partner in deceit, both in business and in betrayal. He starts forward, anger flashing in his eyes. You can't just, but I can, I cut him off, holding up more evidence. And there's more. Not just personal betrayal, but professional fraud. Interested parties might want to look closely at their investments, I suggest, my words a lethal whisper across the room. The impact is immediate and devastating. Colleagues and clients murmur among themselves, their expressions ranging from shock to disgust. She tries to speak, to salvage the situation, but the words die on her lips as people begin to turn away, their faces etched with judgment. I leave them there, her world crumbling around her, and make my way to the exit. The cool night air hits me like a splash of water, shocking and invigorating. I feel hollow, emptied of the fury and pain, but there's a grim satisfaction too. I've exposed them, brought their secret life into the harsh light of judgment. As I walk away, the finality of it all sinks in. There's no going back from this. My marriage, such as it was, is over. The facade of our perfect life is shattered, but in its place is something raw and real, a truth that can no longer be denied or hidden. The crisis, the climax of my vengeance, feels like both an end and a beginning. I faced the worst of my fears, acted on them, and survived. The night stretches out before me, dark and uncertain, yet there's a strange peace in knowing that the worst is behind me. Now, I must move forward, rebuild from the ruins of my former life. The fight has been fought, the most painful blow delivered. As I drive home, the city lights blur into streaks of color, the world moving on, indifferent to the small human dramas unfolding in its midst. At home, I pour myself a drink, the first in what feels like a lifetime. The house is quiet, too quiet, but it's a space that's mine alone now, a sanctuary from the lies. I sip the whiskey, its burn a minor echo of the day's conflagrations. I sit, alone in the dark, the dossier of their deceit on the table in front of me, a testament to the cost of trust, the price of betrayal. And as the alcohol warms me, I realize the battle is done. I've lost much, but I've regained a sense of self, of right and wrong, a moral compass recalibrated by fire. Tomorrow, I'll wake to a world that's different, not because it has changed, but because I have. Tonight, I'll sleep the sleep of the just, or at least the sleep of the vindicated. The crisis has passed, the climax reached. Now comes the aftermath, the reconstruction of a life I thought I knew. But that is for tomorrow. Tonight, there is only the dark, the drink, and the quiet triumph of a battle fiercely fought and won. The morning after the confrontation is clear and bright, a stark contrast to the storm that raged in my heart the previous night. I wake to a house that feels different, not just empty, but cleansed. As I sit at the edge of my bed, the silence isn't oppressive, it's reflective, a canvas on which to paint my new beginnings. I dress slowly, my movements deliberate. Today isn't about dwelling on what I've lost, but about taking the first steps towards what I will build. As I head downstairs, the memories of last night's revelations echo in the empty rooms. There's a part of me that wants to linger, to sift through the debris of my broken marriage, but the stronger part urges forward, focusing on the horizon. First, I need to deal with the practicalities, sorting through our shared belongings, deciding what stays and what goes. It's a physical and emotional purge. Each item I touch doesn't just evoke a memory, it demands a decision. Do I cling to the past, or do I let go? The decisions aren't easy, but they're necessary. The clothes she left behind, the pictures of us smiling at happier times, the gifts we gave each other over the years, all find their way into boxes. Some will be returned to her, some donated. I'm meticulous, not out of spite, but out of a need to be thorough, to start clean. As I work, my phone buzzes with calls and messages, friends and family who heard about what happened. Some offer comfort, others rage on my behalf, but all remind me I'm not as alone as the house feels. I talk to a few, their words a balm to the raw edges of my spirit. But I keep the conversation short. There's work to be done. By afternoon, the house is decluttered, the remnants of my former life packed away. It feels larger, more mine than it has in years. I pause in the now sparsely furnished living room, taking in the changed space. It's in this hollowed-out quiet that I finally sit down to deal with the next, more daunting task: the legal implications of the divorce. I call my lawyer, a no-nonsense woman who's guided many through the shoals of marital breakdown. We discuss the situation, the evidence I've collected, and the best way to proceed. We'll file for divorce on the grounds of infidelity and irreconcilable differences, she advises, her voice firm but not unkind. It won't be pleasant, but you're well prepared. We schedule a meeting for the following week to start the proceedings. As I hang up, the reality of it all sinks in. This isn't just the end of a relationship, it's the dismantling of a partnership, a legal entanglement that will need careful unraveling. With the legal wheels set in motion, I step outside. The air is crisp, the sky a clear blue, and I decide to take a walk. The neighborhood is quiet, the familiar paths and houses bathed in the soft light of the afternoon sun. As I walk, I reflect not just on the past, but on what's ahead. The future is a blank page, and for the first time in a long time, I feel the author of my own story. I pass by a small park, children laughing on the swings, couples lounging on benches, and it strikes me how life goes on, indifferent to individual pain or joy. It's a comforting thought, the normalcy of the world, its stubborn persistence. Returning home, I feel a renewed sense of purpose. I spend the rest of the day planning, not just for the immediate needs, lawyers, finances, a new living arrangement, but for the longer term. What do I want from life now? The question is daunting but invigorating. I decide to rekindle old passions that were sidelined during my marriage. Woodworking, once a cherished hobby, will take center stage again. I clear out the garage, dust off my tools, and start setting up a workshop. The physical labor is therapeutic, the scent of sawdust and oil, a reminder of simpler pleasures. Evening finds me tired but fulfilled. I've made tangible progress, both in rearranging my physical space and in planning my path forward. I make a simple dinner, eat in silence, and then sit down with a glass of whiskey, looking around at the house that's slowly becoming just mine. The loneliness is there, an undercurrent to the evening's quiet, but it's not as fearsome as I expected. It's just another part of this new existence, something to be understood and managed, not feared. Before bed, I write in a journal, a habit I decide to start to document this journey. I write about the day, about my plans, about my fears and hopes. The act of writing is cathartic, the words a bridge from my inner turmoil to the solid, calming page. As I turn off the lights and head to bed, the house doesn't feel quite as empty. It feels like a space where something new can grow, a sanctuary where I can heal and rebuild. I fall asleep, not with thoughts of what I've lost, but with plans for what I will create. The path to resolution is not just about moving away from something painful. It's about moving towards something hopeful. 3 months have passed since I began the painstaking process of dismantling the life I once shared with her. Today, however, marks a pivotal moment. The final divorce proceedings are set to conclude this afternoon. It's a day filled with mixed emotions, a cocktail of relief and sorrow, anticipation tinged with regret. I stand in front of the courthouse, the imposing structure a stark symbol of justice and resolution. The cold stone facade mirrors the numbness inside me, a protective shell against the turmoil of the past months. I take a deep breath, steeling myself for the hours ahead, and step through the revolving doors. Inside, the halls echo with the hushed tones of legal battles and whispered secrets. My lawyer meets me by the courtroom entrance, her expression serious, her briefcase filled with the final documents that will sever the ties that bound us together. "We're ready," she says, giving me a brief nod. The agreement is straightforward. Her lawyer and she have already signed off on it. All that's left is for you to do the same and for the judge to make it official. I nod, the finality of the moment settling in. We take our seats in the courtroom, the wooden benches hard and unyielding. The room fills slowly with other souls seeking their own closures, their murmurs a low backdrop to my racing thoughts. The judge enters, and the room falls silent. "Case number 29381, he announces, and my heart skips a beat. That's us. This is it. As the proceedings start, it all feels surreal. The lawyer lays out the terms of the divorce, her voice steady and impersonal. When it's my turn to speak, to agree to the terms laid out, my voice is steady, my resolve clear. "Yes, Your Honor, I agree," I say, the words echoing slightly in the high-ceilinged room. The judge nods, scribbles something on the paper in front of him, and then, with a look of somber finality, declares, "The divorce is granted." Just like that, it's over. The marriage I had fought for, cherished, and then mourned, is legally concluded. I feel a release, a breath I didn't know I was holding, released back into the world. Outside the courtroom, my lawyer shakes my hand. "You can start fresh now," she says, a smile flickering across her face. I thank her, the gratitude genuine. She's been more than just a lawyer. She's been a guide through one of the darkest parts of my life. The sun is setting as I leave the courthouse, the sky a blaze of orange and pink. It feels symbolic, like the closing of a long, tumultuous day. I drive home, the streets familiar, but seen now through a new lens. At home, I find myself wandering through the rooms, each space a reflection of the steps I took to reclaim my life. The workshop in the garage, my sanctuary of creation and repair, the living room, stripped of our shared decorations and now adorned with art that speaks only to my tastes. I stand at the window, looking out at the quiet street. I'm alone, truly alone, but it doesn't scare me as it once did. In the solitude, I find strength, a sense of self that I had lost in the weaves of a shared life. That night, I make a decision. It's time to move on, not just in spirit, but in location. The house, filled with too many memories, will be sold. I'll find somewhere new, somewhere I can make entirely my own without the shadows of the past darkening the door. The decision feels right, and with it comes a surge of energy. I start planning, listing the house, looking for new places, imagining a future crafted entirely by my hands and desires. A few weeks later, the house sells, and I find a new place, smaller, manageable, a blank canvas on which to redraw my life. The move is cathartic, each box packed a step away from what was and a step toward what will be. As I unpack in my new home, setting up each room just so, I realize how far I've come. The pain of the betrayal, once a sharp, incessant ache, has dulled, a scar rather than a wound. I'm building something new, not just a home, but a life. One evening, as I'm setting up my new workshop, the doorbell rings. It's a neighbor, a woman around my age with a welcoming smile and a pie in her hands. "Welcome to the neighborhood," she says, her voice warm. I invite her in, grateful for the company, and as we talk, I feel a flicker of something new, a spark of potential. It's too soon to tell what it might become, but it's there, a hint of new beginnings, of possibilities. As she leaves, she turns at the door. "If you ever need anything or just want some company, I'm just across the street." "Thank you," I say, and I mean it. It's a simple interaction, but it feels significant, a step forward in a journey I'm only just beginning. That night, as I sit in my new living room, the last of the boxes unpacked, I feel a profound sense of peace. I've weathered the storm, navigated the wreckage, and now I'm ready to start anew. The journey hasn't been easy, but it's been necessary, each step teaching me more about myself than I'd known before. I think back to the man who sat in the dark, plotting vengeance, and I barely recognize him. I've grown, changed, evolved. The betrayal that once defined my days now just a chapter in a larger story, a story that I write anew each day. And as I turn off the lights and head to bed, I know that the next chapter is waiting, ready to be written, filled with the promise of new stories, new joys, and new challenges. The reckoning is complete, and the new phase of my life is just beginning. It's been a year since the divorce was finalized, and if you'd told me then where I'd be today, I might not have believed you. The journey from despair to renewal wasn't easy, nor was it straightforward, but every step, every challenge, shaped the person I have become. As I sit in my new workshop, surrounded by the comforting scent of wood and varnish, the gentle hum of the lathe in the background, I reflect on the path that led me here. My new home is small, a cozy two-bedroom house on the outskirts of town with a spacious backyard that's perfect for my dog, Max, a spirited Labrador I adopted a few months back. Adopting him was a decision that marked a significant shift in my life, acknowledging the need for companionship, for a presence that demanded care but offered unconditional love in return. As I work on a new piece, a custom coffee table commissioned by a local restaurant, my mind wanders back to the early days of my separation, the raw pain and confusion. Those days seem distant now, like scenes from another life. The anger and betrayal that once consumed me have faded, replaced by a focus on creation and building, both in my craft and in my personal life. The community around me has played a pivotal role in this transformation. Neighbors like Sarah, who lives across the street, became friends who provided support and distraction. Our weekly dinners, started as a casual, neighborly gesture, have evolved into a tradition that I look forward to, a testament to the healing power of human connection. "Your work really is amazing, you know," Sarah says one evening as she examines the coffee table, her eyes appreciative. "You should show this off more, maybe at a gallery or something." Her suggestion sticks with me, sparking an idea that grows with each passing day. Why not? Why not take a chance and share my work, my passion, with a wider audience? Encouraged by Sarah's enthusiasm, I begin to prepare for my first local art show. The process is both exhilarating and daunting, forcing me out of my comfort zone, pushing me to engage with the world in ways I had shied away from in the past. The night of the art show arrives, and as I set up my booth, my hands are steady, but my heart races with anticipation. The pieces I've chosen to display are more than just wood and finish. They are expressions of my journey, symbols of resilience and renewal. The turnout is better than I expected, the gallery buzzing with art lovers and curious locals. I stand by my booth, ready to discuss my work, to share the stories embedded in each piece. The reception is overwhelmingly positive, the feedback both humbling and invigorating. As the evening winds down, a well-dressed man approaches me, his interest evident in his focused gaze. "Your work is quite impressive," he says, gesturing towards a particularly intricate piece. "Ever thought about a solo exhibit?" The conversation that follows opens yet another door, an opportunity to take my craft to the next level. It's a chance I seize without hesitation, setting the stage for the next phase of my life. Back at home after the show, I feel a deep sense of accomplishment. The house, once a reminder of isolation, now feels like a haven, a place where new memories are being forged. Max greets me with his usual exuberance, his presence a comforting constant in my world of change. Later, as I sit on my porch, a glass of whiskey in hand, the quiet of the evening settling around me, I think about the future. It's no longer a source of uncertainty, but a landscape of possibilities. My relationship with Sarah has deepened, evolving into something that is both surprising and profoundly right. We talk about a future together, about blending our lives in ways that once seemed unimaginable to me. This new chapter, though still unwritten, is filled with promise. The pain of the past, while not forgotten, has become a part of my foundation, a contrast to the brightness of my present and the potential of my future. As I close my journal, the one that holds the account of my transformation, I write a final entry, summarizing not just the events, but the emotional journey. It's a record of change, of growth, and most importantly, of survival. The story concludes here, but it's clear that a new story is just beginning. One where the scars of the past are not hidden but honored, where new love and old passions blend to create something uniquely beautiful. I turn off the porch light and head inside, Max at my heels. The house is quiet, but it's a peaceful quiet, filled with the echoes of laughter and the whispers of plans for the future. In this moment, I understand that while the book of my past may be closed, the pages of my future are waiting to be written, filled with the ink of hope, resilience, and love.